Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast.
Welcome to episode 276. Wow, we've made it that far. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor. He's back. Ken Pullen.
Yeah, back from some cooler weather than Georgia. We kept looking at the forecast in Georgia. It seemed like it was around 100 degrees, and it was about 62 in Scotland, so it was very nice.
Did you try the haggis?
Maybe just a little bit of it, but we got our fill of fish and chips. I think Luke ate fish and chips for every meal. Had quite a few Guinness, quite a few Tennent's. Is there sort of their light beer?
You understand Guinness is not Scottish, it's Irish.
It's not, but they served it in every bar. And then the kind of their Miller Lite of Scotland was a beer called Tennent's, which was pretty good. Good and cheap.
Good and cheap, yeah. That describes quite a few of the girls I dated when I was single.
No, it was a great trip. We actually rented a car and drove 12 days around Scotland. Scared my family to death a couple times when I went on the wrong side of the road. But overall, it was kind of an enjoyable driving experience. In part of Scotland we were in, it was called the Isle of Skye, which is just an incredible place. But almost all the roads are one-lane roads, and they've got these little turnoffs every 50 or 100 yards. I just couldn't get over how many one-lane roads were in this remote area of Scotland we were in.
Well, I'm incredibly blessed with the way I grew up, being in an airline family. I have friends in Scotland.
Ah, that's awesome.
So after my first knee surgery, I've had two now. Archie hit me up on Skype, and he was just checking on me with the knee surgery, and I said he had gotten a double knee replacement, and I said, "Well, how does it feel?" He goes, "Well, they don't hurt anymore." So I told him, I said, "Well, you wore your knees out crawling from pub to pub." Because David, that's offensive. I didn't always crawl. Sometimes I was carried.
Yeah, we hung out in quite a few good pubs. It was and the accents, and I mean, I know I've got a crazy accent also, but I know the ones over there it was funny how, especially all the women talked. It's kind of that what you just did, very expressive, very emotional. That's how they all talk to each other. The conversations are very very much like that, very loud and very emotional type conversations. It was cool to sit around and listen to.
It's fantastic. And when Archie comes and visits, and he does from time to time, he comes and visits, I can understand him for the first hour. But by the time he's halfway into a bottle of whiskey,
and then we visited some. Yeah, that's how everybody. There's drinking starts early over there. It really does.
But the Scottish people are fantastic.
They are. They were super nice. No problems with the people at all. I was telling you earlier that it was so different being over there. I think I saw one police officer in 14 days or in 12 days that we were over there. There's no police presence in the entire country of Scotland. It was almost shocking that you drove down the road and didn't see people checking radar or seeing if you were talking on your phone or had your seatbelt on or had a tail light out. It was really different.
That's not the entire UK. I can assure you that.
No, I'm sure down around London it's completely different.
Yeah, as a fan of how oh damn it. You know what I'm talking about with Jeremy Clarkson.
Oh, I don't. You're going to have to keep going here.
You don't know Jeremy Clarkson?
No, I don't. Never heard that name.
Top Gear.
Okay.
Fantastic show. they have chronicled very well the problems with like traffic cameras and stuff like that.
Oh, there were some traffic cameras, and that's what the family was joking about. They said when we get back home, I'll probably have 10 or 15 different speeding ticket violations that are sent to me in the mail. So I'm just waiting on that to drop.
Well, I guess I should give the introduction. This week we have cratering DeSantis. Lynn Wood rears his ugly head. That guy's not real. Billionaires suing. Riptides. If you're rich, you can't afford a mortgage. If you're not rich, you can't afford a mortgage.
Yep.
Coke.
That's true.
In the balls. Margie is on the outs. And White House blues.
Yeah, a lot of good topics this week. We'll have to run through them.
So to speak. So, what's going on with DeSantis? He is cratering in the polls.
He is. I really thought the launch of his campaign, I thought he was going to put a challenge up to Trump, and I thought he'd get a lot more momentum, bigger push or a bigger bump in the polls when he came on board. I thought he was going to be sort of the alternative to Trump, and I don't know if you've seen the polls lately, but he started off and he's dropped probably 10 or 12 percentage points. And he's almost at the point where, and you mentioned this earlier, where Vivek Ramaswamy is really close to being in second place behind President Trump at this point.
And I really like Ramaswamy.
I do too. I like what he talks about. I really do. And he's getting some airtime, which could be the bump in the polls that he's getting.
Man, DeSantis has a problem, and his problem is not political. His problem is he doesn't connect.
No, he's not a good retail politician at all, and I think that's what's become very obvious is he's not good one-on-one with people, and he's not good in crowds. I think he's a good governor, but he's not a politician.
He's a fantastic governor.
Yes,
and
he is.
I think he would be a fantastic president, but he does not connect.
Nope, he's not connecting in places like Iowa and places like New Hampshire, where those are more, you've got to go around to cafes and bars and where people get their hair cut, and you got to talk to people, and he's just not connecting. He's not connecting in those areas, and I don't think he will. I mean, I think DeSantis is done, and there's really no alternative at this point.
And I hate it for him because
I do too.
I like him. I don't like the BS that he does. The throwing baseballs with reporters. I don't. He has tried everything he can to be a normal human. And he's just not.
No, he's not. He's really not.
I think he would be an excellent executive. I really do. But he can't connect, and he is not going to make it.
Nope, he doesn't have that it factor that politicians need to actually really connect with people, and he's not going to make it, which, this is what I've talked about this on the show 2 or 3 times. I still think there's room for Governor Kemp to get in this race, and I still think he does. There's been more talk this week about Governor Kemp and Governor Youngkin of Virginia, and when are one of those two guys going to jump in and be the Trump alternative? Because you can go down the list. I mean, Nikki Haley's got no chance. Tim Scott's got no chance. Chris Christie's got no chance. There's no Trump. There's no alternative to Trump. And I think Kemp's it. I really do.
I will tell you something about Christie is he gives a great interview.
He is. That's why he's been successful in politics. So he does have that.
He's a fantastic debater. I would love to talk to Christie. Just because he is so smart. Do I think he has a chance? Hell no.
Yeah, he's got zero chance. I don't know if you saw the thing that the Trump campaign put out where Christie was asleep on the airplane, and he looked like just a walrus that had just, collapsed on this airplane. And
Yes, he's fat, and
He's-
as a fat man, I I understand that, but but Christie is enormously smart.
yes, he is.
He's fantastic. Nobody could beat him on a debate stage. If you actually had a debate, what we have now is not debating.
No, we're done with debates. There's no such thing anymore.
Yeah, but if you went Lincoln Douglas style debating, there's nobody that could beat Christie. He's super smart, but he has no chance.
Nope. So, look, I know it's July. This will come out on the 10th, I think. I really think by September, Governor Kent will have declared his candidacy for president of the United States, and I think he has a shot.
I don't think he. I don't think he does.
We'll have to debate this, and we'll have to look back on this in September.
I don't think he has the name recognition to do it.
I don't know. He's I think a lot of people know who Governor Kemp is now, and I think he's building up his international profile. You've seen he's been taking quite a few trips internationally lately. He's doing everything to me that says he's running for president.
You know who does not like him?
Who's that?
Lin Wood.
No, not at all.
So Lin Wood gave up his law license.
Yeah, and if everybody remembers, this is the guy that was really big after Trump lost, the election in 2020. Lin Wood came down to Georgia, and he was, suing everybody and all this stuff about the election and how Trump won Georgia. So that's the same guy we're talking about here. So he has given up his law license in Georgia, and there was a reason he did this, right, Dave?
Yeah, because he's a jackass.
But he was also facing a lot of discipline and possible disbarment in Georgia over what he did after the election of 2020. So instead of going through the process and potentially getting disbarred, he just said, hell, I'll never practice law again in Georgia, and I'll just give up this law license.
Yeah, because he's making more money not being a lawyer.
Oh, a lot more, yep.
Yeah, Lin Wood is a jackass.
He is.
And look,
I think it sticks over though. I hadn't seen him as much on Fox News lately. I mean, is he really out there now, or is it more the alternative kind of
Newsmax?
Yeah, Newsmax.
No, Lin Wood's a jackass. I don't even know how to describe Lin Wood.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a grifter. I mean, he's he's friends with a frequent person we mentioned on this podcast, which is Candace Taylor. I think they're best buddies, but they're just professional grifters at this point and can't get away from this 2020 election.
I dislike him so much that I will not buy a my pillow.
So you're going with Mike Lindell also.
Yeah,
so
Mike Lindell.
You're grouping them all together. Yeah, I mean they've all got the same stick at this point. It's and look, that's where Trump is. My son's actually going to a TPUSA event in Florida next week, and Trump's speaking, and that's what we were talking about. Is there's no message of the future with Trump. There's nothing that if you re-elect me, this is what I'm going to do. It's still all about 2020 and the stolen election. And I don't know where Republicans are in their thinking at this point.
I don't think that's a winning message.
No, it's not at all. I mean, you've got to talk about the future here if you're Trump, and somehow you've got to pivot. And talking about 2020 it may be a winning message in the primaries next year, but it's not against President Biden.
And I hate it because I do not like Biden at all.
No, because I don't think he makes it another term, and I think you've got a President Kamala Harris at that point. And who wants that? I don't think Democrats don't even want her to be president.
I'm not even sure that he sticks with Harris going forward.
Yeah, we'll talk about this later. I've got some theories on this White House and Kamala and what's going on up there.
Yeah, I mean, she's not a winner.
No, not at all.
But you know that I don't know, man. She's an embarrassment. She's absolutely an embarrassment.
Yep.
But we have imaginary people on airplanes.
Oh my goodness, this story has been everywhere this week, and I don't know the lady's name, but if you miss this, a lady had a major freak out on an American Airlines flight this week in Dallas. She basically said, you know, I'm telling you, I'm getting the F off, and there's no reason why I'm getting the F off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. Basically, she said she was sitting next to a imaginary person on the plane.
And she's hot.
Yeah, that was part of it. I mean, that's kind of, I don't disagree with you. But, you know, supposedly this lady is sitting on an airplane beside this guy that's covered in tattoos. He's got a shirt on, and she asked him what the deal with his shirt, and he said he was a Freemason. And he had like a Freemason ring on, and he starts talking to her about being a Freemason. And she had a problem with Freemasons, and it went off the rails, right? So he puts his hoodie on, she looks at him, and she says, "You're an imaginary person." And she is getting off the plane at this point.
All right. So all I can think of is the is William Shatner. You know, he was on what's the name of the show?
Oh, which one?
You have to help me. It was not Star Trek. It was way before that.
That's what I was going to guess.
No, it was way before that. But William Shatner, when he looked out and he saw a gremlin on the wing of the airplane. Oh, you know what it is. I mean, again, brain
Nightmare
farts.
at 20,000 feet. Is that what it is? Twilight Zone?
Yes, Twilight Zone.
Yeah, there we go.
And this is before he went on to the Starship Enterprise. But that's the only thing I could think of. But
this woman had absolute fear in her voice, though. You can almost, you can sense this lady is terrified. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying she had a gummy with too much THC in it, or she had too much alcohol prior to the plane. But this woman was seriously in fear for her life. I've never seen anybody react this way, where she looked that scared to be somewhere.
Man, I don't know. There's also people who take sleeping medication before getting on a flight, and they act funny.
Yeah, this is a weird one. I mean, she was not just disturbed; she was like fearful. Like she really thought this plane was going down and she was going to die. So, and they ended up letting her off. I mean, the flight was delayed for 3 hours. They let the lady off. They didn't charge her with anything, which I'm surprised they didn't charge her with any type of crime. But they finally got her off and let her go on her own way.
What crime would you charge her with?
I don't know. I mean, I thought there was something where if you disturbed a plane, the FAA would get you.
No, there is. But what you just described is she was
fearful of her life. Yep. So how do you charge her with that, right?
Yeah. She was honest about it. She was running for her life. I don't know how you charge her with the crime.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Certainly, I don't know how you convict her of a crime.
No, not after watching that video, because something was going on. This lady was really terrified.
And hot.
Yes, you have mentioned that.
So we have Twitter suing Facebook.
Yeah, this is funny. This is Elon Musk going up against Mark Zuckerberg. And what prompted this is, I don't know if you saw it this week, but there's this new feature on Instagram called Instagram Threads, which you can participate in, which is very, very similar to Twitter. So what Elon Musk is saying is Mark has then stolen intellectual property from him in developing Instagram Threads. So this is, billionaire soon billionaire.
Just friggin' fight.
I'm ready for that.
They already said that they want to square off. Just
yes,
friggin'
and they're both
fight.
training for it. So supposedly Mark Zuckerberg already takes ninjutsu and is a pretty good athlete and stays in really good shape. I don't know if you've seen Elon. Elon doesn't look like he.
But
he's not in the gym very often. But he's working out now.
I assure you, I can whip Mark Zuckerberg's ass.
He's going to be a little quicker than we are, Dave. Though I mean, Zuckerberg is probably 160 soaking wet.
It does remind me of a friend of mine who was talking about Manny Pacquiao, and he says. Okay. He's so small. He goes, I don't think he can whip my ass. And his buddy says, you couldn't catch him in a phone booth.
Yeah, that's the problem. He would wear you out, and then it's a different story.
Yeah, I guess I reckon the same thing is the problem with Zuckerberg is he could circle around the octagon long enough to wear my ass out.
Yep, and then he comes in. So yeah, Look, there's a lawsuit coming, and I know we mentioned a fight, but supposedly Mark and Elon are going to get in a steel cage and have a little boxing competition pretty soon, wrestling meet. So I don't know if that'll ever happen or not, but these guys are both training for
it. And again, I really think I could take Zuckerberg. Being 270 pounds, I think I could take Elon too. I'm a big dude, and I've been in a few scrapes, but I am pulling for Elon on that one.
Yep, I am too.
So, what's up with the riptides killing people in Florida?
Man, what is going on here? I don't know if everybody's seen this, but down around Panama City, 11 people have died over the previous 2 weeks, and it's all around these riptides that are coming through. So, I mean, I know they've had, most of the time there's been either red flags or double red flags, which the double red flag, you can't even stick your toe in the water without potentially getting a ticket. But yeah, these are not kids. These are grown adults that are being swept out in these riptides. And I guess I've never been in one, day, but I'm assuming what happens when you get in one is you just panic, and you're supposed to kind of swim down with the riptide and stay afloat.
I have been in them. Being a Floridian, you swim parallel to the beach,
right, to get out of it.
This is something that we were taught as Floridians in school.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things that we were taught how to run from alligators and how to swim out of a riptide. I kid you not.
So is the riptide actually pulling you under, or is it just taking you sort of
it's pulling you out?
Okay, it's pulling you out, and you get scared and try to battle the riptide, and eventually just run out.
If you try to swim against it, it wears you out, and you die of exhaustion.
Yep, and that's what's happening.
So if you keep your head and you swim parallel, you can swim your way out of it.
And they showed an aerial photo of Panama City a couple days ago. And you could see where all the riptides had made these lines in the sand. And there was like 2 levels of riptides over the past couple of weeks that have done this. And there was also a professional football player that died down around the Miami area. I don't think it was a riptide situation, but it was. So there's been a lot of deaths in Florida this year in the ocean. And this will, if my wife ever goes back down there, she'll never let me back in the water after all this has occurred.
You tell that woman to mind her business.
It just shows how dangerous the ocean is. I mean, my wife's aunt, who lives down in Manchester, her boyfriend's brother died. He was one of the people out of these 11. We didn't know him. He lived up in the LaGrange area. So this has touched sort of close to home with people dying in these riptides down in Florida.
But here's the thing. If you know how to react to it, also if you obey the flags.
Yes, that's a big part of it.
If you obey the flags, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to swim out of it, you're fine.
Yep.
Like I said, this is how I grew up. I grew up in South Florida, so it just wasn't a big deal to us. We knew what to do. You swim parallel to the beach, and as soon as it stops pulling you, you come back in.
Yep.
But I understand that everybody doesn't grow up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't grow up learning how to run from alligators either.
I know, exactly.
And people would think it's funny, the fact that we actually had a class on how to run from alligators. But it's one of those things. If you get in the water on a double red flag, that's on you.
Yep, exactly.
All right, Kenny. How much makes you rich?
I thought this was a funny story I saw online, but so they surveyed about 2,500 U.S. adults this week. They said on average to feel financially secure, they would need to earn $233,000 a year. And to feel rich or attain financial freedom, they'd need to earn $483,000. This was a survey that came out on Bankrate.com. And look, just for comparison, so people said, $233,000, I feel secure. $480,000, I feel rich. Just for comparison, the average income in 2021 was $56,000. So,
all right, so
five times what they're making now to feel rich or to feel financially secure.
I'm going to parlay this into another story. Did you hear about the guy who has 233 million sky miles?
No, I didn't. Wow.
All right. So in 1990, Continental offered a unlimited pass, and it was $290,000, and he bought it.
Okay.
Since then, he has racked up 290 million sky miles.
So there's a guy out there in the world with an unlimited pass to fly on Delta.
No, Continental.
Continental. But what is Continental now? Or is that where he got all his sky miles from?
Yes.
Ah, I got you.
And
this guy's not spending his 200-something million sky miles?
He once spent a month without touching the ground.
Wow.
Other than he would land, go to whatever the club is that Continental has, and then hop on another flight.
Wow. I don't like flying that much.
But here's the thing: when you adjust the money from 1990 when he did it was $700,000.
Wow. Okay.
So what people consider rich is interesting to me, because the guy is a consultant for car dealers or whatever. I don't know. He obviously does very well. But the fact that the people think that 250 whatever thousand is rich, they have no idea.
No, not at all. But $233,000 a year is a good income. You can live in pretty much anywhere you want outside of the major cities very comfortably on 233. I don't know where you came up with that number, though. I don't know where people just came up with. Yeah.
Outside of L.A., San Francisco, New York.
Yeah.
$233,000 a year living in New York, you're a pauper.
Yeah, you're not. You're going to have a trouble with 233. You're not living in a city.
Yeah, that number is so binary because you're not taking into consideration where people live.
No, you're not.
Living in Paulding County, making $233,000 a year, you do very well. Mm-hmm. But if you're living in New York, you're in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I mean that's the deal with the minimum rate or whatever that people make. It's the same way. Like $10 an hour where I live is different than $10 an hour in New York. So that's why we don't.
Exactly my point is
that's why the federal government having setting that is stupid, right? That should be a state. If states want to say you've got to pay people minimum wage, and a minimum wage. I don't believe in a minimum wage anyway, but it never should come from the federal government. It should come at the state level. And if New York wants to say minimum wage is $50 an hour, Georgia wants to say it's 10, then let each state have at it. And if you want to move to New York and make 50, then go right ahead.
No, you're exactly right. Is $10 an hour in New York, you couldn't live.
Yeah, but the minimum wage is zero. I've always said that. I mean,
well, amen.
It sets an artificial floor and allows companies to actually pay the minimum wage, which if there wasn't one, there'd be a lot more competition in the marketplace. So it lets these companies like McDonald's and Burger King set a rate and stay at that rate instead of having to compete with each other.
Well, that is a very good transition into mortgage rates hit 7%.
Oh my goodness, yeah, 7.13 was the 30-year rate a couple days ago, and I saw that because they said on a $350,000 house, the mortgage and insurance now is up to around $2,700, and when that was down, when the mortgage rates were around 3%, that was about $1,600. So we basically almost doubled what it costs to own a home at this point. Which is just nuts that we're at that rate now.
Yeah, I've got a friend whose father is refinancing to take $200,000 out or whatever it is, and his payment is going from $1,200 up to $3,000.
Wow. Yeah, it's got to hamper the housing market. I mean, I haven't seen the latest housing market numbers. But there's no way the pace of the housing market over the last few years can keep going. What they're saying now is the job report came out this week, and the job market is still extremely hot. So they're saying that's fueling rumors of more rate hikes in the future because, and this is the weirdest thing to me, right? But the Fed is saying until we get the job market where we're either losing and the unemployment rate's going up, or not as many people are being hired, they're going to keep raising interest rates. So they're basically trying to sort of stick us into a mild recession to get inflation under control.
That's the goal.
It's a crazy goal though. And what the interest rate went from 2.5 to over 7 within, it feels like a 12-month period. And it stayed at that 3% rate for 10 or 12 years. It's still shocking to me that we didn't raise the interest rate a quarter of a point for 10 straight years and not have gotten to this point.
And you realize that the average house in 1980 was $40,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interest rate was 18.
Yeah, the interest rate was 18 when Carter left.
Yeah, so
in my first house, I signed it at 7%. Yeah, so when I bought my first house 20 years ago, it was 7%. I thought it was a good rate. So it's all about the time period that you live in also, but 7 doesn't feel good at this point.
Well, you can't have both. You can't have, a house that sold for $150,000 20 years ago going for 500,000 and have 7%. You can't have both.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The problem I have is it's the Fed is attacking individuals.
They are, yeah. And I mean, again, they went to sleep for 10 years. I mean, it's like the Fed just said for a 10-year period, we're just going to leave it at zero, which made no sense.
Yeah, so money was free.
So how does this impact, and not to get off topic here, but this has got to impact the presidential election for next year, I would think, because we're just going, I mean, signs are moving towards a recession at some point, and that always impacts.
I think it does, but I don't think that the average voter can digest and understand together. It.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Also, the president, and you know I am no fan of Biden. The president doesn't have any direct control over that.
Yeah, but people put two and two together. I mean, I agree that most people don't know that, though. Yep, I agree with you. How goes the economy? How goes the presidential, who owns the White House? Again, this just proves to me that if the Republicans get off their ass and nominate anyone besides Trump, they walk straight into the White House for the next 8 years.
I think that is a very good term for it. Walk straight into the White House.
Yeah, don't you agree? I mean, I
agree with you. I agree with you.
Besides Trump, any reasonable candidate wins. Now, I'm not sure anything changes at this point. We talked about this earlier. The federal government is on just a path to disaster at some point with the amount of money we borrow and what's going on in D.C., but still, I'd rather have somebody with an R beside their name than a Democrat.
Wow. Yeah.
If nothing but for the Supreme Court, which we've seen lately has been
has been solid. Yeah.
Yes, and if the Supreme Court was different, this country would be in a whole different shape right now, a whole different place.
So we have a Georgia deputy got popped.
Yeah, this was a really sad story this week. But a Georgia deputy, his name was Tyee Brown, he was actually 26 years old, lived in Macon County. He was shot after pulling a suspect over at a traffic stop down in Crisp County. So he worked for the Crisp County Sheriff's Office. And this happened during the middle of the night. When this show comes out on Monday, it would be the previous Wednesday. But he was pulling over a truck that had been flagged as stolen. Yeah, so just a very tragic, sad story for this young police officer.
It is a very sad story.
Mm-hmm. And this was down in the Cordell area, if everybody doesn't know where Crisp County is. So it's down off 75, probably down around exit 100. It's a very sad story in Georgia.
Yeah, it is a very sad story. He didn't do anything wrong.
No, he didn't. He's just doing his job.
And look, there are plenty of times that we see videos or see stories where a cop was wrong. This guy did nothing wrong.
Nope.
All he did was walk up to the damn truck.
Yep, and they've released the name of the guy that shot him, but I don't. There's no reason even mentioning that at this point.
F him.
He'll go to jail forever, and
yeah,
should get a death penalty at the end of the day and have a quick execution, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not a big death penalty guy, but F him. I mean, just
exactly.
All this deputy did was walk up to the side of the truck and get blasted.
Yep.
And it is very, very sad.
It is.
Man, I don't know how to transition to the next story, but we have footballs filled with Coke.
Yes, and I think, Dave, the story came from, I think we've seen it on a couple different news stations. I think Jessica also reported it on the Georgia Virtue, but Georgia Department of Corrections said 4 people were arrested after they tried to smuggle 5 footballs full of contraband into a prison. These 5 footballs had 11 bags of tobacco, 5 cell phones, and a bundle of cigarettes. So people took footballs and filled them with drugs and paraphernalia, and were going to take them into Baldwin State Prison.
At least it wasn't Smith State.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know how dumb people think. I mean, did they think they were going to walk in a jail with a football and no one asked questions about that football and what it contained? Are people that dumb?
Yes.
Obviously they are. Just a crazy story, though. I'm going to go check on my relatives in prison, and I'm going to stuff a football.
You have relatives in prison?
No, I'm joking if I did. But it's just like, hey, let me fill this basketball up with a bunch of weed and cell phones and take it with me through security. Yeah, that sets off no red flags.
It's better than hiding it in your butthole.
Yeah, that's a lot more comfortable probably with the basketball. I'm sure that occurs all the time.
It does. I see the booking reports. Yeah, it's attempting to cross guard lines with contraband and all this. I see the booking photos all the time.
Jeez, that sounds disgusting.
Now, let me ask you something. Would you want to smoke weed or do cocaine that somebody smuggled in their butthole?
Personally, I wouldn't. I'm not sure Hunter Biden wouldn't do that. Not to throw a Hunter Biden reference in.
Hunter Biden might snort it out of your butthole.
Yes, I think totally agree. No, I wouldn't. I don't think I would. I don't do marijuana or cocaine anyway. But if I did, I wouldn't want it out of somebody's backyard.
I heard you did.
No, not lately anyway.
This is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work or otherwise associate ourselves with. I'm sorry.
Hard to move on after that.
It is after cocaine in the butthole. It is hard to move on. Associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other relevant stories over at thegeorgiavirtue.com. Jesus, Ken. Give me the mule.
Yeah, so I don't know who this lady is, but obviously some people do. Her name's Jill Scott, so she's the Mule of the Week. She was performing this week on the second day of the Essence Festival on the perceived systemic racism in America, where she was singing the national anthem. The problem was she changed the lyrics to the national anthem. So, look, Dave, I'm not going to try to sing this, but I'm going to read what she changed the lyrics to. She said, "Oh, say can you see by the blood in the streets that this place doesn't smile on you, colored child, whose blood built this land with sweat in their hands, but will die in this place and your memory erased. Oh, say, does this hold truth? Does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves."
Jesus H. Christ.
Oh, say can you see by the blood in the streets. Yeah, this is the same lady that a couple of years ago was talking to Jamel Hill about leaving the United States. She said some things you just don't have to deal with in other countries, and she was comparing the United States to Holland, saying you can basically do anything you want to in Holland. I promise you, Holland does not want this lady to come visit. They would send her back really quickly. So I guess she's talking about Amsterdam when she refers to Holland, that you can just walk around. And she says if you want to get some A or buy some A, ain't nobody tripping on you. I like the idea of being able to be free as long as you're not harming anybody. Look, I don't disagree with that statement. But butchering the national anthem and this whole systemic racism she was going against, yeah, she's quite a character.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't get crapping on the national anthem. I don't get it.
I don't either.
You know, I'm a big Braves fan. 30 games over 500, by the way. And when Timothy Miller comes on to sing "God Bless America" in the mid-7th, it honestly tears me up.
Look, I think the same thing could be said anytime you hear it. I don't care if it's at your local, American Legion event, or if you're at a rodeo, or we may go to the Atlanta Motor Speedway on Sunday night. I think anywhere it does, not just, and it really doesn't even matter who sings it sometimes. It's just the thought of the American national, or, of it being played is incredible. So,
well, no, and it even sitting in my easy chair, sitting in my lazy boy, when I hear "God Bless America," it honestly tears me up.
Yep.
You know, and you know that to have such disrespect.
Yeah, it's total disrespect
for this country bothers me, and it's not because I'm a veteran. It's not for any other reason. Is, you know, I have a true affection for this country.
And what she doesn't realize is the First Amendment gives her the right to do what she did. Without the First Amendment, she wouldn't even be able to do what she did in certain countries.
No, you're absolutely right. She has the right to say whatever the hell she wants, which
we support. I fully support her being an absolute idiot. But without the First Amendment, what this country was founded on, she wouldn't even have had this right in a lot of countries around the world.
No, you're exactly right. Now, so Margie was kicked out of the Freedom Caucus?
Yes, moving on from the mule. So the Freedom Caucus is a group of 30 to 40 members. The roles are kept very secret up in D.C. Thomas Massie is probably one of the most... Thomas Massie's, I think, is in the Freedom Caucus. Andrew Clyde is in the Freedom Caucus, a representative out of Northeast Georgia. They're sort of I hate to say the far right party, because I think the Freedom Caucus is more about just supporting limited government and liberty-based legislation. So I don't call that far right. I just call that what our country is based on. Marjorie Taylor was in it, and the members of the Freedom Caucus actually voted to kick her out this week. So that was she was the first member that's ever actually been kicked out of the Freedom Caucus.
How much of that is her connection to McCarthy?
Yeah, that's what the whole thing was. And we've talked about this quite a bit. And what the Freedom Caucus does, the basics behind it, is when an issue comes up in D.C. to vote on, the Freedom Caucus will vote as a body of people, and they'll say, do we want to vote yes or no on this legislation? And if a certain percentage of the members say we're voting a certain way, then everybody votes that way. So I think the threshold is 75 or 80%. So if 80% of the Freedom Caucus members said we're going to vote no on this legislation, all the Freedom Caucus members have to vote no on that legislation. So it's a way for the group to stick together. And in today's world, where Republicans only have a few seat majority in D.C., it gives them a lot of power to have influence on legislation that's moving through the system. Yeah, but I think she got kicked out, like you said, because she's cozied up to the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, and some of the positions she's took's been kind of anti-Freedom Caucus, and they just said enough is enough and voted her out.
It's very interesting. It really is.
It's really interesting. Yep.
As far as what it does for a district, I don't know that it changes anything.
No, I don't think it does. But it just continues to show this movement of Marjorie Taylor Greene to more of the establishment wing of the Republican Party and away from what she's really run on for the last 4 years. It's just a big change for her.
Yeah, I don't know what this does for. It doesn't change the fact that she's bulletproof. She
is. In her district, she's totally bulletproof. And she said the GOP, I mean, her statement after getting kicked out was that GOP has less than 2 years to show America what a strong, unified Republican-led Congress will do when President Trump wins the White House in 2024. So she has not backed away from supporting President Trump for presidency next year, but she has backed away from being more of the liberty-minded, small government Republican that she really came out as early on.
I don't think the Liberty Caucus is small government. It's all about Trump.
Yeah, it could be. Yep.
Trump was not small government. I don't care what anybody thinks about that, but Trump was not small government.
No, I mean, he raised the deficit more than any president in the history of the U.S. has.
He also introduced anti-gun legislation. Look, I have big problems with Trump on the
Trump's
gun
a
side.
populist Republican. Yeah, he's a populist Republican. He's not a small government Republican at all. He's a populist.
Right. So I don't think that the that group is small government. They're not. Do I think Margie is? No. No, she's a pro-Trump.
Yeah, she's a populist legislator again. I mean, yeah, she's pro-Trump, pro-Marjorie Taylor Greene, and do whatever it takes to stay relevant.
And look, she does a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, she does an outstanding job. She really does. I have to commend her on that.
You know, I've been to her events, and I've met the people that support her. Jesus H. Christ. I mean, these are not scholars.
No, but they're middle of America. I mean, people that'll stand up like you just. I mean, look, the people that support her. I mean, I love the people that. I mean, it's people that voted me into office when I was running. They're great people. They care about their community. They care about their country. They've got families. But
you got voted in by morons.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, look, so some of the people that I met that support her are morons.
Yeah, there are some. I mean, she got tied up with the Q group, and I think some of those were, like totally morons, right, with tinfoils on their head. But there's still a lot of just great country people, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I mean, it's just people that live out in the countryside, right, that think Marjorie is fighting for them. And it's the same people that like Trump because they think Trump is fighting for them. Like they think Trump loves them. And
you know what? I think he does.
I think he looks at him a lot. I think he looks at him different than most politicians do.
Yeah, I think he has a genuine affection for country folk.
I do, and I think most people in D.C. all they have an affection for is people inside the Beltway. So yeah, I do think that's where Trump is different. Is he? And it's like DeSantis. We said earlier, DeSantis is not connecting with the people that Trump connected with, and he'll never do that. I mean, that he just never will.
Well, that's probably true. All right, let's do this quickly. White House had a pretty crappy week.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of the Supreme Court decisions that y'all talked about last week, there were two more things that happened this week. Cocaine was found in the White House this week, which I still have no clue why this story even made the headlines and why the White House didn't sweep this under the rug. So I wonder if there's another story here, Dave, that we're overlooking. Is this going to be pinned on Kamala Harris and her husband? Is it going to be pinned on Biden somehow? Are we setting the stage for someone else to come in and run as president on the Democrat side next year? I just don't know why this ever got traction. I mean, it's turned into a big story now, but I'm not sure why this ever even was a story in the first place.
Man, I don't think that anybody else is going to run on the Democratic side. You know, it just on feels. I
just don't know why this popped up as a story. This is going to hit somebody hard, and I don't think we know who yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the VP candidate or Kamala Harris. This is going to be traced back to somebody, and that somebody's going to be in a lot of trouble. This is not some random event, I don't think. So we'll have to watch this story over the next couple.
So
this is conspiracy Ken, right?
You know that Elvis Presley walked into the White House with a pocket full of cocaine, right?
Yeah, and Snoop Dogg said he smoked pot in the White House when Obama was president.
Yeah.
So, but why is this such a big deal? I mean, I guess that's the point, though. Why is this such a big deal and why does this continue to become such a big deal? Why wasn't this kind of just swept under the rug? Find the cocaine, find out who did it, and let's move on. This is a bigger story for some reason.
So you think that this is an excuse to jettison Kamala?
I do. I think it's something within her part. I think it's something around her that's going to be found. I think you're going to get rid of her. She was in affirmative action was shot down last week. She's affirmative action hire. I'm not putting two and two together there, but yeah, she's an idiot.
No, she's an idiot. I mean, she's an idiot. I mean, she's just dumb.
Yeah, she is.
Joe Biden's no Rhodes Scholar, but she's dumb.
I know, but we'll see what comes out of this.
So that's interesting. It's just, you know, we'll see what comes out of it. But carrying drugs in the White House is not new. I mean, look, Elvis showed up at the White House, knocked on the front gate with a pocket full of cocaine. And it's like, hey, I want to talk to the president. And did. Because he's Elvis friggin' Presley. All right, Kenny, as we're winding down, what do you have for your closing thought?
Yeah, I had two closing thoughts real quick. Number one is President Carter and Rosalind are celebrating their 77th anniversary. I cannot believe they've been married that long. And, you know, President Carter went into hospice 6 months or so ago, and he's still with us. So that's amazing, but that's an amazing celebrating 77.
God bless him. I mean, look.
Seriously. 77 years is absolutely amazing.
He is my least favorite president, but as a person, God bless him.
Yep. And then the second thought is my son Luke is about to go on a conservative conference tour. So he goes to TPUSA next week and down in Florida. Then he goes to Young American Federation in D.C. for a week. And then he goes to a Young Americans for Liberty conference in Orlando. So the boy is racking up sky miles this summer, and he's going to get to hobnob with a lot of political people coming up here over the next 3 to 4 weeks. So he's going to be having a lot of fun being 18 years old.
Well, good for the boy. Good for him.
Yeah, it's exciting. I told him, hey, you never know who you're going to meet, right? So good stuff.
I want to thank Jessica for filling in last week.
Yeah, definitely.
I love you, Kenny, but you know it was It was like the old days recording with Jesse.
Yeah, y'all did a great job.
But she does a great job on the Georgia Virtue. Anybody who's listening, please follow the Georgia Virtue. It does a great job of exposing what's wrong within the state of Georgia.
And I also got her books in the mail this week. I bought her 3 books that she's been working on over the past few years and got those in the mail this week. So thanks, Jessica, for sending those along.
Outstanding. So, on that thought, Ken, thank you very much. You are my partner in this endeavor. Eric, thanks for editing the horrible audio that we send you every week. I'm Dave Roberts. We'll talk to you next week.
Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.